I only started applying processes many years into the business. And I can tell you right now, that hurt me a lot.
To grow this business, we need to grow it with people that are better than me.
Yeah.
You know that you wear multiple hats, so you'll have multiple hats, and within multiple hats are multiple
It's
processes.
not multiple hat, it's every hat.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Lee. Good to see you again.
How are you, Mike? It's always a pleasure to see you.
I'm gonna good. Yeah, it's that shirt you're wearing.
Don't mention the shirt. Mike's done this deliberately because we always usually start with win of the week, and you know, England got knocked out of the World Cup a few days ago, but I thought I'd carry the flag still.
You should, proudly so.
So I was hoping to have a win this week, but unfortunately I haven't. So let's move on. But anyway, this episode is processes. We all love processes, right? Well, I mean, we've built a business on processes.
Well, I only started doing them when pain really kicked me so hard, but yeah.
When I started the business, there was two key things that I needed from day one, and that was insurance. So I made sure that I had insurance from day one, and I was covered. I covered my ass for everything. And two was I knew how naive I was as a business person, so I got a coach from day one.
Well done to you.
But
I admire you for that because I ignored both of them. Completely ignored them both, you know.
But I think because of that, from day one, our business coach, it was always about process. So
Wow.
I think we've built the business from day one on processes. And I think the thing that I've learned is a process is never finished. It's always evolving and growing and adapting. But I think there's a difference between processes and also, team growth as well. You have processes and you have team growth. And I think one of the interesting things that we're going to start with is kind of, at what point do you realize your business can't grow with you doing everything, even though there's processes in place?
When I first started, there were two things I focused on. The first one was hard work until you dropped.
Yep.
The second one was customer relationship. Both are good, but completely useless without a process. They're completely useless without a business coach, because a business coach would have ironed these things out almost instantly. And to this day, I regret that I did not have a business coach from the start like you did. And that shows, I've seen it in your business. That's why they run a bit smoother. And that's why you had, even when I first met you, and you were trying to sell me something, I liked your process of doing it. So you had that in place. I really admired that. But I wish, if there's one thing I could tell people, is that get a business coach from day one. I know nobody wants to spend the money on them, and yes, they can be costly, but I don't think there is anything there that is more valuable than a business coach.
One thing that I would ask you though is, on many episodes you talk very highly about books.
Yeah.
Would you say that reading books can be just as effective now as having a business coach if you're starting from scratch?
The information out there today is so well laid out or created that it will almost eliminate the need for a coach. However, instantly you behave differently when you're reading a book and when you have somebody in front of you holding you responsible for your actions, or actually telling you how it exactly needs to be done. It's much, much more powerful when somebody tells you or holds you to it.
Yeah.
You read the book, you can act upon it or not. You talk to a coach, and next time you see them, they will ask you a simple question: did you do what we spoke about last week or last month?
Yeah.
So a coach, the value a coach brings to you in life and in business, it is tremendous. Absolutely tremendous.
It's I do agree, and we've had a number of coaches, mentors over the years, and collectively we would be without any of them along the journey. But the one thing that interests me about processes is that obviously we had processes from day one, but from day one there was just me and Jason. So it's funny because we had a process for everything.
Well done, you guys.
You had all these processes, but you as the individual did every single process. and
It's good because you got to create it and follow it,
It
which would have
is.
been a lot easier to actually,
Yeah.
spread it or actually get other people to adhere to it.
But then as we grew, obviously those processes adapt. And when you're a business owner, when you're kind of on your own, or there's a few of you, you know that you're wearing multiple hats. So you'll have multiple hats, and within multiple hats are multiple
It's
processes.
not multiple hat; it's every hat.
Yeah. So it's good to have those processes in places. But I think the realization for me as we started to grow, as to realizing the business couldn't grow with me doing everything, was that I started to realize that we could bring people in that were better than me. And I think for me, that was probably the real realization that it's great to have all these processes and systems. But actually, what's stopping our growth is having the people that can come in and do a better job within those parameters. And I think for me, it was letting go and realizing that to grow this business, we need to grow it with people that are better than me.
Yeah.
And at every level, we've always had this thing: is bring people in that are better. Because if you're the best in the business, then
That's not a business.
how are people going to
Yeah,
learn?
yeah.
And you always, and now it's, we bring people in that's really going to add value at multiple levels. And then that obviously then means that those processes are always evolving, because it might be what you think is the right process, but then someone might come in and say, well, actually, in my 15 years of experience, you're missing a few little bits here. And that's why I say processes are never finished. They're constantly evolving, growing, adapting. But I think that's the lifeblood of the business.
Without a process, even a better person than you, he will still be useless.
Yeah.
That's why you needed these processes. You need these processes in place. If you got a process there and you employ somebody who's better than you, they will only improve that process.
Yeah. I think what we were always mindful from is we're obviously we're a creative business, so we're design and tech, but we had to be really mindful that we had a very strict process for everything, but at the same time it didn't restrict creativity. So I think that the key thing for us is that the experts that we have along the journey, whether it's the designers, the UIX, the business analysts, or whatever it is, they have an element of complete and utter freedom within a process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because what you can't do with a process is restrict creativity or
Of course,
restrict
of course.
the freedom to express yourself. So I think for us, it's that process from a structural point of view, whilst allowing the freedom for people to express themselves and deliver the best results for the client.
Of course, for every process we have in place in our business, the people who are using it, which is everybody, they're entitled and they've got every right to recommend or change that process if it makes it better, or take something out if it causes too many problems. And you have to adapt. The process is like a growing tree. It will never be the same shape or the same size. It constantly keeps changing, but it's very important to start these processes as early on as possible. Unfortunately, I only started applying processes many years into the business. And I can tell you right now, that hurt me a lot. So whatever you do, make sure you start with the process, even if it is just you there, if you're a single person working for yourself, create a process. Actually, even if you work for a company or something, start creating processes because it puts you into a mindset of how to do things properly from day one.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned at the start of this that one of the two most important things for you were customer relationships.
Yeah.
So now going on to a process-driven customer relationship, how important to you is customer service in your processes as an organization now?
If you remember this from this podcast today, if you remember just this, it will serve you well for a long, long time and many, many years to come. When it comes to customer relationships, customer service, you've got to remember that what customers want and remember is a familiar experience. So if a customer experiences the same experience time and time again, they will keep coming back. Once you change that experience, they will notice it. That can harm your business or the experience with the customer. You can build a system that multiplies or copies the same experience over and over again.
What does a customer service process look like? What does that look like to you?
So how you handle yourself on arrival, it starts from everything from when the moment they call you, the moment you log the job, the moment you do the job, during the whole process from start to finish, all the way to the invoice,
Yeah.
is always handled the same.
But do you think so? Just for people
Yeah,
listening, you mentioned about picking up the phone
yeah,
and turning up to a job.
yeah.
Do your team have a tick box exercise? So, I'm just thinking, greet the client with a handshake or I don't know. I'm just trying to think off the cuff. Do you have do they know a tick box exercise? This is how I handle every single customer.
We are in the service business. So every person that's out there, we only got a few people in the office, everybody else is out. So every single person that works for Alliance Refrigeration, it's a mirror of what that company stands for. So everything from answering the phone, what are the first few things you say to the customer during that phone call, how you handle and log the job, all the way to arriving on site, for example, how you represent yourself. It's extremely important that you make your presence felt when you go there. It's just as important that you make your presence felt during the time the job is taking place. And to the finish and to the invoice, the whole experience, it's always the same.
Yeah. I think there's a
They're familiar now with the process
yeah.
and they expect it to be like that all the time.
I
And
think
it's truly amazing also, Lee, sorry I really feel like I need to say this, is when you create that system and you don't stick to it, the customers will also notice straight away. It is important that everybody adheres to that process. There's no point having a process if I follow it and you don't. And I must admit, I made that mistake when these processes were put in place. I went around ignoring them. And my best customers said to me, Mike, you should be proud of the guys you've employed because they're handling things better than you. They stuck to the process, but I went there like the boss and behaved in my own way. And the customers noticed it.
there's a lot to be said for customer service, customer experience. And I think that the buzzword for me is the kind of feeling that you give the
Yeah.
customer. And I think you know, from a customer service experience perspective, that they're kind of saying it's not what you do, it's how you make them feel. And I think sometimes as businesses we put more focus on the process of delivery in terms of the tangible product. So whether it's a complete refrigeration installation, for us it might be a website, it might be a branding, whatever it is, a piece of software. But I think sometimes there's so much effort that goes into the process to deliver the product that we forget about the process of the customer experience, how we make them feel. And I think often you can deliver a great product, but if the customer doesn't, if you haven't given them a good feeling along the way, it's detriment to the finished solution. But I think almost if you deliver not quite as good a product, but you're giving them an amazing customer experience and feeling, I think that goes a longer way than the opposite side. So I think sometimes I think one thing I would say is don't put all your effort onto the actual product. Put the effort into the feeling that you're giving the customer, because I think that feeling speaks volumes for how you are as a business.
You're absolutely right there. And let me emphasize it even more. We are in the service industry, breakdowns. We're dealing with mechanical things. You don't always fix them the first time. Sometimes you have to make as many as 4 or 5 journeys until you fix it. And that frustrates the customers. But here's the important thing. The customer will never remember the problem, but they will always remember how you made them feel at the end of that job.
Absolutely.
They will forget the price, the difficulties they went through, the headache, whatever they went through, they will forget it. But they will never forget how you made them feel at the end of it. This is very, very important. Whenever, even with jobs, I can tell you this, that even we've had great customers who were misunderstood or we couldn't at times achieve what we were actually aiming to achieve. But by the end of it, we made sure we left them feeling positive and good, even if we had to occur a lot of losses. Never ever ignore that feeling at the end of it. It's the only thing that truly matters. You have to end it up on a high note.
I was doing,
It-
I was
I-
doing a leadership discussion. I led a leadership discussion a few weeks ago around customer experience, and we were talking about a bit of a case study from Rolls-Royce, and it was just an interesting because their customer experience was all about the feeling. So, for example, like they would move if you're coming to view a car that you're interested in buying or you've purchased, they will move all the other cars away and just put yours in the middle of the showroom. They will, within a certain parameter of the showroom, they'll go out and they'll do all the gardens of the local houses because they want to give that feeling that you're coming to an experience like no other. Like they'll wash the road signs local to that, and there were so many touch points, even to the smell that's in the showroom. But again, these are all just, it sounds, you're smiling, it sounds ridiculous, but actually these are processes. And that process will be, we've got a customer come in today. Have we cleaned the signs? Have we put the right smell in the room? Have we organised the showroom in the right manner? Have we made sure that all the gardens are fit for purpose around? It's literally, that is what we're talking about here, a process. And that ultimately then defines an experience where actually the people buying a Rolls Royce, it's experience that sells it, not the actual price of the car.
yeah.
Or obviously you've got to have a bit of money to do it, but it's
There
all
you go.
about the
They're
experience.
putting so much effort into it. They're giving you a feeling. They're not
Exactly.
just giving you a car, they're giving you a feeling.
Yeah.
Let me say this because this is very, very important. Very often I've had to take action, legal action against customers because they were not paying their bills. After the invoices got settled, I didn't just ignore that customer. I still phoned them and said, look, I don't feel good that it got to this, although it was their bloody fault. We have to make sure that if we work together again, we don't let it get to this. And let me say thank you that you actually made that payment. And what this conversation has taught me is that the guy at the other side of the phone is completely uncomfortable now talking to me because obviously we just had solicitors chase them for the money, and when they do that, they don't do it. They're not. It's not a nice experience. But I made sure I did that, and I've still got some of these customers come back and they will pay on time and stay true to their word now. There are a lot of other elements of this conversation I want to talk about, maybe at another episode, but never, ever, ever neglect the importance of that feeling at the end of
Yeah.
it. That feeling will stay with them for a long time. I've even had these people who I took to court actually recommend other customers to me.
Do you think that within the world of processes, do you think as business owners and entrepreneurs, you can almost spend so much time trying to get the perfect process that you don't get a process at all?
I've made that mistake. I've applied too many things and confused the hell out of myself and the team.
So what would your advice be? Just start small and
My advice will always be simplicity is the way forward. Try and make it as simple as possible. Keep that process as simple as humanly possible. Only add to it what is absolutely necessary.
I think what I alluded to earlier, don't try and build the perfect process because the process is never finished. So you start
What
from
is that? What if naming one perfect thing that we have
yeah,
today in business? Everything we have
yeah, it's
needs
evolving.
some sort of
Yeah.
improvement down the road. And we probably, if we sit down, we can write 10 points about the simplest thing that needs
Yeah.
10 improvements to it.
And for your team, for example, the process to go to a customer could have started with smile and say hello. And that process may have then evolved over time to be more things, and it might end by always make sure that you tidy away and clear all the rubbish and leave it as clean as you found it. But I guess it just needs to start somewhere, and then you can just add to it
one of the most important thing is with our guys when we go to a site is, now I don't want to reveal too many of my secrets here of the business, but I'm happy to share them with the listeners as much as possible, unless you want a one-on-one private meeting.
It'll buy you
one
dinner, so it's worth doing.
So one of the most important things is when they go to a customer is to never start a job without going there and saying or doing this in this order. Good morning, I'm Mike from Alliance Refrigeration. I'm here to check the fridge or the problem, whatever you've got there to fix the breakdown. And then ask the person what their name is. There's nothing more powerful than asking somebody about their name. And what's even more powerful is when you go there next time, you don't just go there and say, hi, I'm Mike from Alliance Refrigeration. I'm here to fix X problem. You go, good morning, Lee. I'm here to fix a problem with your fridge. It's extremely powerful, that is, remembering and calling somebody by their name.
100%, and I'd go a step further with that as well. And one thing again that we learned from the early days of business coaching was critical non-essentials. So it's things like when we start working with a new client, it's around, and this is kind of to a degree process driven, but we have a board on our CRM and a board for each client. And basically our team are told that throughout the process, it's not that we have to it's not that you have to ask a specific set of questions. It's about being open to listen. And as we work with clients, it's about documenting key things. So, for example, it might be that we've had a meeting with someone and we found out they support Man United. So we'll obviously not put that on the critical non-essentials. They support Man United.
Find common ground, yeah.
It might be that they say, oh, we've just come back from a holiday to celebrate our anniversary. Oh, when was your anniversary? Oh, it was on so-and-so. That then goes on to the critical non-essentials.
Yeah.
So I guess what you end up is almost like a profile for each user. This is when their birthday is. This is when, their anniversary is. They support this club. And what it just means is that it allows you then as an organization to have a process where you can celebrate touch points with your clients. I'm not saying you have to be like spend loads of money or things like that. It's just about doing the basic things right. I think one thing that I always remember is we had a client that we worked with for probably 6 or 7 years, and we parted ways. Not in a bad way. It was a mutual kind of just probably just realised we weren't the right fit for one another eventually. Parted on really good terms, and we kind of both went into different directions. Every year since we stopped working with them, on their birthday, I send them a WhatsApp message every year. Happy birthday! Hope you're doing well. Be good to catch up at some point. And I never really received responses, but I probably did it for 3 or 4 years. So it doesn't take much to write a little message. We're now working together again. And it's just things like those little touch points. I think they've obviously remembered how we make them feel and that we care. And I think little touch points like that, I think, can go a real long way. And I think that's those critical non-essentials. They do form part of a process, and it's just having that process documented where your team know that they can get this information and they have the permission to then act on it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it comes down to that, how you make them feel.
Never ever underestimate that.
For someone listening who's never documented a process before, what's the first system you'd recommend that they build tomorrow? What kind of, how do you start? Where do you start?
In a business, money. That process has to be in place. It has to be the first thing in place.
And so tell me what you mean by money.
Keeping notes, invoicing, you cannot afford to get that wrong.
So I think,
because in every business, the first thing when you start a business, what's the first thing you deal with? Is money. It's the reason why you're going in there. Get the process on how to handle the money first, especially nowadays. When I first started, it was all done through paperwork, which was very, very, very difficult, and notes and books. Now you've got systems out there which are actually so cheap, it's beyond belief. And it stuns me when I get people come to me and say, "Oh, they're still doing invoices, for example, on paper."
Yeah.
Get that damn process sorted first and foremost.
And I think with that,
And
because
it's very easy to do it as well
Yeah.
now. Again, I go back to these softwares. Now you can have some for as little as 30, 50, 60 quid or 100 quid a year. I mean, Zero, I think, which is one that we use quite a lot. You're on Zero as well, which is probably one of the top ones out there. How much is it a month? 120 quid? I'm sorry, a year.
don't ask me.
Probably, I don't
not
know.
the
It's
minivan.
not. It's actually, they are actually very, very affordable. Get that
Yeah.
right from day one.
I think, and yeah, I think the financial side is probably, well, yeah, we know this from experience that this is what me and you both got wrong very badly at the beginning. And having a process with the finances, in a sense of, yeah, the process is all about building the expectations with the client. We are going to deliver this service. We are going to invoice you this much money. We expect to be paid in this many days, and just have that process of, the follow-ups, the ability to not be too lenient, because we've learned it the hard way. But if you're lenient from day one,
That's hurt me so
it's
much. Yeah.
very hard to
Yeah.
recover, isn't it?
It's virtually impossible to change people
Yeah.
after they've got used to dealing with you in a certain way. That's why a process in place. This is why big businesses invest millions in a business and they do well from the beginning, or most of them do well from the beginning. Why? Because from day one, they've got every process in place. Whereas you and I, or certainly me, I started and then I started applying the processes as pain build up.
Yeah.
I only started, applying processes when I had no choice, which is completely the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think people need to have the perception that they need to start with all their processes in place.
No,
I
that's
think
absolutely right. Let's not get people worried. You don't have all the processes in place. You never will. No matter how good you are, there is always an evolving conveyor belt, of processes. But whatever you do, start it with a process, as simple as it could be. Very, very simple. Even one, for example, that I used to do when I first started. I made it my mission before I got out of my working vehicle. I wrote down everything I needed for the next day.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, I used to go to the wholesalers and try to think what I needed. And guess what? I never made it to the second job without realizing that I'd forgot something or got the wrong part. So I made it my mission that the night before, certain things have to happen before I leave my vehicle, no matter what. For example, today we've got systems now that when the guys close a job, before the tablet has been passed to the customer to sign it, they have to tick a few boxes there. Things like, was the place left clean? Do you feel the customer is satisfied? If not, why? And what have you done about it? It's truly amazing how many times I've had people, I've looked at the job sheets and it says there, no, customer is really pissed off about this job. And that put me into action where I had to pick up the phone and phone the customer and say, hey, how did it go? How did you feel about it? Do you think we did everything right? And then they quickly revealed their feelings. And here's the most amazing thing. Almost every time it was just something that needed some sort of explanation. It only took some explaining. Yeah. Quite often we've had the customers say to us, we don't think it's been fixed properly. And my next sentence, it always is, I'll tell you what, leave that with me. How about we give it a day or two, see how it performs, for example, this piece of equipment, and I'll call you back again to check on it. The customers never actually phone you back to tell you anything. So I always make it my mission, or somebody at the office, or the person who's on the job, to phone the customer and say, hey, hello, Lee, how are you doing? We fixed this, we've carried out this refrigeration repair 2 days ago. How is the fridge performing? Oh, no, it's okay. It's all good now. I'm happy with it. Thank you for checking. So you see, it went from an unhappy customer to a happy customer simply through a phone call or two or 30 seconds of conversation.
Yeah, and I think there's two things that I think I want to pick up on there, hopefully to close the episode out. One, I think, going back to the finance thing, I think one piece of advice that I'd give is just that set the first one I'd get in place is that sales process
Yeah.
in terms of the expectations, in terms of, we take a 50% deposit. We don't start work until that 50% deposit is
You can
paid.
create these rules nowadays very, very quickly. You can
Easy.
actually even ask, if somebody asks me today, this is what the first thing I would say to them.
Yeah.
We can actually save them 5 years of pain
Yeah.
in literally, 2 hours?
Yeah.
Pain that we went through.
So get that sales process all the way through to invoicing, payment expectations. I'd nail that, as soon as possible.
From day one, yeah.
And I think you've mentioned it on what you just said around calling people. I think the other process that I'd nail as soon as possible is try and keep your team, in my opinion, off emails as much as possible. And, when there is a problem, always pick up the phone. And that can be quite a straightforward process, because tone of voice, emails, it can just massively escalate when a phone call could have solved it in 30 seconds. So I think that is a process that I would absolutely nail into the business as soon as possible in terms of how you communicate with clients.
Very, very important on that point. Email people can express their feelings quite negatively when they're writing on the computer. Whereas to a phone call, they will behave differently. And if the problem still persists, I'd strongly recommend a face-to-face meeting. Every time I feel a customer is getting upset about something and the conversation is not going to where I want it to be or to go to, I'm really sorry. Give me a few hours, or tomorrow morning, when are you there? And go and see people face to face.
Yeah.
And I've never come across a situation when I've never been able to fix a problem face to face.
No. And I think, a simple process on that experience may be, if there's a problem with it, rather than email and then just have an email conversation, it could just be pick up the phone, have a conversation. And the next part of the process is, once you finish that phone call, send them an email with a summary of everything you've just discussed. And that is an example of a very basic process of how to deal with a customer, for example. So we're not talking about long, complicated processes.
Very simple.
Just
a simple call.
down.
A simple call. It takes seconds.
Yeah, that set the expectations of your business, whether it's how to deal with a customer, how to invoice and request money. Those little things would be a great starting point for any business.
Is non-negotiable. You get that right, and then relationships with the customers. But the money part of the business, you need to get that right, because you're gonna need some money to invest in processes. So without that, you're doomed. So make sure that the money side of it is solid, and that is very easy to do as well. It's about 50, minimum 10, 15 rules you can very easily create. Or you can simply copy from a successful business. Let's do that. Just copy them from a successful business. What do you think?
I think you nailed it.
These processes should be so simple that whoever jumps in can do the same, can do exactly the same thing as you did.
Yep.
You have to create everything in such a way. Actually, there's one question you have to think of. How can I make this that every person in my team can follow it without problem?
There is the only thing I'd go back to on that is, it depends what industry you're in. So using McDonald's, for example, they have a specific process for creating a specific burger.
Yeah.
And it is black and white.
Yeah.
So cook the burger for this long, flip it for this long, put it onto the thing. In our world, what I said at the start of this episode is, we have a process for designing a piece of software, but actually the individual output within each process is different every time. So see what I'm saying? So it's not always a rinse and repeat like a McDonald's burger, because there is certain businesses where we have a strict process for the delivery. So step one is go through this step one is this phase of the project. Step two is this phase of the project. But within that, you may have a very different outcome every single time.
Yeah.
So there depends on what sector you're in.
Look, there's always some adjustments to make, but I can give you a quick example. In our business, we were using 10 types of different rivets. And the biggest problem we had is, when people were using these different rivets, they were using different drill bits, which quite often they were coming loose because the hole they were pre-drilling for the rivet was the wrong one. What was the solution to that? one type of rivet, one drill bit for all of them. Now, some of them we ended up overdoing them, but it's best to overdo it than to think that you might have a problem with it. By simplifying it, we've eliminated all the problems we had with things coming loose because we were using different types of rivets. One type. If you went to that job tomorrow, you, who've never built a cold room, you will be able to get that right because you only got one drill bit and one rivet to put in it.
But I guess what we're saying, I think what we're saying here though is you learnt there, the process was developed by the mistakes that were being made. And I think the way that I'd summarize it is start with a basic process, and as you grow, the mistakes you make along the way will allow you to refine that process.
Yep. And very importantly, when you make a mistake, make sure you eliminate it to a process there and then. Because if you make a mistake 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times, that's outright stupidity. And on that note, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, baby.